everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to take you with me to Vienna, to my beautiful hometown Vienna. And I will not only show you interesting and beautiful sights, but also a treasure trove of exquisiteness when it comes to shopping. So all those places you wouldn't discover if you don't know your way around. So come along and discover this beautiful, beautiful city of mine together with me. And we start in the very heart of Vienna, the Austrian capital, with St. Stephen's Cathedral, that is the landmark of Vienna, and it's called Steffel, lovingly by all Viennese, which is a diminutive for Stephen, or Stefan in German. We see here the South Tower, and for a very, very long time it was the highest church tower in Europe, that is until the Strasbourg Münster was built. And as most cathedrals, most Gothic cathedrals, St. Stephen's Cathedral was also supposed to have two towers, but the North Tower was never finished. In fact, the church was built over several centuries. It started in the 12th century, and depending if you count also the decorations inside that are partly Baroque, to the construction time, then it was built until the 16th century, so over several centuries, and until today you will always see parts of the church covered because it needs renovation, obviously. Here you see the small beginnings of the North Tower with a small cupola on top of it, and in this cupola hangs one of the three biggest free swinging church bells, the Pummerin. And it was made out of cannonballs that hit the church in 1683. That was when the Turkish besieged Vienna. So they made a good use of that, and it always rings on New Year's Eve. Here we see the Graben Square with its Baroque column, the pest column, and it was built to commemorate the last pest pandemic in the 17th century. Vienna was hit several times by the pest, and these were difficult times as we are facing now. As you can see here, those Christmas illuminations that are hanging here for the last season, they will be changed next year. They should evoke a ballroom, and normally in normal times you would see 10,000s of people dancing into the new year on New Year's Eve here. Here we are on the Kohlmacht, one of the most luxurious shopping streets in Vienna, where you will find the shops of Tiffany's, Gucci, Dior and alike. And we are facing the direction towards the Imperial Winter Palace, the Hofburg, which we will see in a moment. But look at those dreamy, dreamy illuminations. Aren't they just sparkling? And if you go in one of the courtyards on the Kohlmarkt, you discover those little houses in the courtyard, and they used to be the garages for the carriages. So something most people don't see when they are here in town. Isn't that cute? And they seem to be apartments nowadays. I don't know what they are. Maybe for the concierge. So this is the Winter Palace of the Habsburg, the Hofburg. Let's have a look inside at the cupola. So this entrance is called the Michaela Tor, just simply because the church that is opposite here is the Michaela Kirche, the St. Michael's Church. So let's head in there. And facing the Hofburg, so just in front of the Emperor's window, was built the Adolf Loos house. This house that is really Art Nouveau and very, very famous. And the Emperor wasn't too happy when it was built, because he obviously found this too modern and very ugly. And nowadays, of course, we know, and we are very lucky to have it here in Vienna, and we are able to visit it. If we walk on, we walk into the other courtyard of the old Hofburg, because this castle has been built over several centuries, and now we are entering the most ancient part, which resembles a medieval castle. So this is the old Burg, the alte Burg, the old castle, and that is the courtyard. And if we look up here, I can tell you it's quite exceptional to be able to make such a walk without any cars and any people, and that's all due to the pandemic. And in this tract and this part of the castle that I show you here, where the Imperial Apartments, where Empress Elizabeth and Emperor Franz Joseph lived during winter, that is when Elizabeth wasn't traveling, because quite soon she left Vienna. She didn't get along with the courtiers, and she traveled quite a lot, amongst others to the Greek island of Corfu, where she had a very nice palace which was called the Achilleon. And this entrance is called the Swiss entrance. It was guarded by Swiss guards during the time of Maria Theresia, and it was a drawbridge over a moat. And in this courtyard behind there, that's the oldest part of the Burg. And once you've crossed this courtyard that I just showed you, you step out on the Heldenplatz, the square of the heroes. And this is the newer part of the Hofburg, and what you see here in front is the Heroes Gate, this Heldentor, and on the left with the cupola, that's the Museum for Art History, on the right for Natural History. And here, look at this very, very nice part of the castle, which is, as I said, a newer part. And this balcony might be known to some of you from some historical films and pictures, because that was not such a nice moment in Austrian history. Because from there, Adolf Hitler proclaimed the Anschluss of Austria to Nazi Germany. But it's also a fact that the square was crowded and full of people cheering. Not something that the Viennese like to remember, but lucky enough we have better days, and now in this part of the Hofburg, for example, the OECD is holding their meetings. In this part of the castle are the offices of the President of the Austrian Republic. This is the Palais Coburg, which the Viennese lovingly called Asparagus Castle when it was built, because of the columns. And it was the castle of the Saxe-Coburg in Vienna, so it was the second most important palace in Vienna after the court, the Hofburg. Today, the Palais Coburg is one of the finest hotels in town, if not the finest, and part of the leading hotels of the world. And what you see here are the very impressive and elegant staterooms that you can rent for events such as weddings and the like. And in fact, the Palais Coburg stands on the ramparts of Vienna like many other palaces do, and together they form the very impressive, elegant boulevard, the Ringstrasse, which encircles Vienna's first district, so the city center. So make sure to have a ride around the Ringstrasse. You will really appreciate it. And the Palais Coburg, in fact, does not only stand on the ramparts, but on a bastion of those ramparts. So there are real casemates and that you can rent for events, but it also holds 6 wine cellars with 60,000 of the most sophisticated wines there are. And also you can visit in the palace the gourmet restaurant of Silvio Nicol, who really creates fantastic dishes. They are real eye candies, and he has 2 Michelin stars. And for all of you interested in fine food and sophisticated wines, make sure to visit the Palais Coburg. So talking about food, we cannot miss out on Demel, the coffee shop Demel, the former supplier to the court, Imperial and Royal court. And here we see how they are preparing the Viennese Kaiserschmann, one of the favorite desserts of Emperor Franz Joseph. And basically it's a pancake dough, a bit more fluffy, caramelized with raisins in it. And if you're interested in how to make it, because it's really delicious, let me know in the comments down below and I will share a video on this very recipe. So Demel is really one of the finest coffee houses, and make sure to visit it and make some time, because you will probably stand in line. Even during the pandemic I had to stand in line a bit and see at this setting, at these moldings. They look like the decoration of the most beautiful cakes and pastries, and it's really nice to sit there. I have been there with my grandmother as a child and I still love to go there. We also had the breakfast after our wedding at Demel, and also our wedding cake. So make sure to visit this really traditional place, and it's going to be difficult to choose the right pastry, so I will make a recommendation. I prefer the fragilité that you see here, and it's with noisette cream. I really love it. But should you prefer other things, of course there are different cakes, like for example the Dobos torte here, that's a Hungarian recipe. But obviously they also have a Sacher torte from Demel, and Demel and Sacher claim to have the original Sacher torte. So make your choice, visit both Sacher and Demel, and yeah, have it definitely with some whipped cream, because that's the perfect combination. Here this is a rum cake, a Russian rum cake, and obviously you can try other specialities like also the Apfelstrudel. This is the Sachertorte with a lot of whipped cream, but it's really the best combination. And also an Apfelstrudel, you should not miss out on that. But Vienna is not only about fine food, you might not know it, but it's also about sausages. And Bitzinger, the sausage stand behind the opera near the Albertina, is the best sausage stand. And during the pandemic I got lucky, there was no line, still enough people, and you can find it very easily behind the opera and in front of the Albertina that you see here, one of the finest museums there is. When I was there, you can see it had a Monet and Picasso exposition, and it also has the collections of Albrecht Dürer, very fine drawings. You might know the hair as you see here, or the praying hands, absolute masterpieces. So make sure to visit the Albertina. And when walking in the streets of Vienna, make sure to look up and look at the houses, and then you discover beautiful houses and facades like this house with the 2 balconies made of wrought iron. And this house was built in 1722, and especially when you're from the States, you will be impressed by those dates. And even if you realize that, for example, this house then was already standing before Mozart was born. So this is how old it is. And if we walk up here this street and turn around the corner, we will discover one of the loveliest small squares in Vienna, which is Franciscana Platz. And we see him here standing on the fountain, and this is St. Francis Church. So this is why the square is called St. Francis Square, and because of the fountain. And it's really cozy, and the small squares remind us of old Vienna like it used to be. And it also is where the smallest coffee house of Vienna is situated, the Kleines Café. Well, make sure you bring some time. Service is not too good, but it's really small and cozy. Then we walk on, that's very nearby. This is an entrance in the Singerstrasse, in the Deutsch Ordenshaus. And yeah, in this house was also one of Mozart's apartments. And in fact, you can read it here. Well, you have to know he didn't have several ones at the same time, but he moved a lot. So within the city center, you will discover many houses where he lived. And I really recommend that you enter those courtyards when they are open, and that you have a look inside, because it gives you a bit of feel of this town, how people live there. And about and you discover some nice architecture. Look at these windows here, this passage with the windows, and it's really nice. And that's something you don't see if you don't dare to get in. And you had maybe a little peek here at the South Tower from St. Stephen's Cathedral. So we're just behind the cathedral here. Here you see it again. Isn't that just beautiful? So really dare to step in if it's opened. Nobody will mind if you are quiet, and make sure to make such lovely discoveries. And you can also step into the palaces that are open, and this is the Palikinski. And of course, this is another category. This was a very important aristocratic family that owned that palace. Today it's for events. And look at this architecture and this decor. Obviously, back then it was not possible to enter those houses. It was just for the families and their guests and, you know, high society, the aristocracy. So just enjoy those sights. So this is the Pali Festa, which is the former stock exchange from Vienna. Well, in former times. Today there is another one. And now it is like a galleria, and there are very nice shops and coffee shops. Really, really nice. And look at this here. Isn't that nice? And up there are also rooms that you can rent and where you can hold events. Historic houses in Vienna, you might discover such a beautiful staircase like this one. This is the shop from Lena Hoschek. She is an Austrian designer. Even Lydia Elise Millen worships her and has a dress from her. And I just can recommend to have a look. Look at those old ribbon skirts, really, really cute. And it's a very, very nice store. Look at this skirt. Very, very nice. My personal impression is that Lena Hoschek's designs are strongly influenced by the Austrian folkloric dresses, the dirndl, and that her designs are definitely beyond fashion. They're absolutely timeless pieces. But she also uses tartans and tweeds. So definitely visit her store. It's a beauty in itself, whether you buy or not. It's really worthwhile to see. Vienna is also the town of absolutely fabulous fine jewelry. And A.E. Köchert was the supplier to Emperor Franz Joseph I. And this is where he had some very, very well-known jewels made. And it was his engagement present to his bride, Empress Elizabeth Sisi, the famous Sisi, and her diamond stars. And this is what you can buy today from Köchert. Beautiful jewels. And in this vitrine you can see the jewels that were made for Empress Sisi. One knows them nowadays, even though they got lost, those jewels, those stars. We know it from her portrait from Winterhalter. And here you see the real pieces which you can purchase from Köchert. So you can have them as earrings or as a brooch, or here pendants. Look at these beauties. Even if these jewels are not for the budget of everybody, obviously, make sure to look at those shops of those historic artisans. It's just a pleasure to have a look at those masterpieces. And Lobmeier, the former Royal and Imperial supplier for crystal glass and chandeliers, is an attraction in itself. Have a look at this. And here here they are, the chandeliers of the Metropolitan Opera in New York. And at an investment of a little over 14,000 euros, you can bring one of those statement pieces and with it the splendor of the Met to your private home. So Lobmeier, as many of the other former suppliers to the Imperial Court, those shops are worthwhile visiting, whether you intend to buy or not, because the interiors and furnishings, such as this banister, they are just so wonderful, so beautiful. They are like museums in themselves, those shops. So make sure to step in. You will be welcomed. Don't hesitate. And really pay attention to all these details, because those historic shops are becoming rare, and not everything is so expensive as the chandeliers that I pointed out. You can buy such drunken vodka glasses, for example, or those candy glasses, bonbonnières, that I show you here. The smallest one costs 149, or sweet figurines of elephants. So make sure to stop by. Yes, and in the meantime, Vienna, as any other big city, obviously you will find all the big brands. But if you are looking for a small shop with really good quality and you really want to find something nice, you have to visit Kniesche on the Graben. Vienna is also very known for its made-to-measure bespoke shoes made by artisans, by shoemakers. Scheer was also one of the former suppliers to the Royal Imperial Court, and I wanted to point out that shop to you, but unfortunately it was closed. But there is also Materna, also in the first district, offering made-to-measure shoes, bespoke shoes in really, really beautiful qualities. And you also need to know, if you're a tourist and you have a first pair made while you're there, you can always reorder. Materna was already founded in 1907, and until today the shoes are made in the old tradition and according to the traditional techniques and in the finest qualities. Here they have the leather in all different colors, and here they make the shoes made to measure. But you can also have semi made to measure, so they have 3 different widths for every size. Alligator skins, they are protected skins, they are old skins, or they are really numbered and with a certificate from sick animals, nothing that harms any species. So they are making sure to be very, very safe on that side. So here are the different models you can choose from. And look at this, isn't that a beauty? So, but when you're here in Vienna, make sure, if you really want to get exquisite quality and really substantial quality for your money, then have your shoes made to measure or semi-made to measure. So, and when I'm in Vienna, I make sure that I come to see Maurizio Giambra, who is a designer and who has a really fine shop, and who is saying hello. Hi, nice to see you. And he is doing his own designs from evening dresses, also accessories that you can get to wear with them, but also day wear, from blouses, skirts. Let us see, he has really nice dresses and also wedding dresses. So I just purchased a few dresses, and the dress that you see me wearing here, look at this, and also including the belt, that is from him. And they also make amendments if you need to, but normally they have quite a good fit. And look at those, this mohair cardigan, a long cardigan in mohair. Then he has also, look at those plissé skirts. He has an outlet in a street down from the main shop in the Buchfeldgasse. Here, this is the skirt. And also really, really nice Italian accessories. And look at this coat. And the address is Lange Gasse. I will put it down below in the description box. It's now December and we have 16 degrees Celsius today, so it's like spring. And I wanted to pay a visit to Empress Sisi, who has here this statue. And I always came here with my grandmother. And in the backdrop, you see on one hand the building, the white building, is the Burgtheater. So that is one of the most renowned and famous German-speaking theaters. And the tower that you see here in the back, that's the tower of Town Hall. So we are near the Ringstrasse. So, and this statue is here in the midst of the Volksgarten, which is a public garden. And it's really beautiful. In summer you have beautiful roses. So these are the famous roses of the Volksgarten here, packed in winter so that they don't die. But if you come here in spring or summer, make sure that you visit them. They have the finest, really different sorts of roses, and if you're into that, it's just a beauty. My grandmother, she loved to see that. And just outside of the Volksgarten is the Burgtheater, one of the finest German-speaking theaters there is. And just opposite the Burgtheater is the Town Hall, a neo-Gothic building. And obviously these are not all the sites of Vienna, but I will go back, and if you want me to, I will show you more of my hometown. So I hope you enjoyed this short trip to beautiful Vienna, Austria together with me. And if you did, please don't forget to subscribe, like and share. And I hope to see you soon here again on my channel. And until then, goodbye, auf Wiedersehen und bis bald!